All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big warm welcome to my man Q-Bert. One of the first questions we like to start with, Q, is just like, how did you get started into this whole DJ game? Who influenced you? And, you know, like, what got you started in the whole thing here?
For me, I saw DST do it on TV. Who else was there? Egyptian Lover back then. The guy Reckless, who was at the Glove, Chris the Glove Taylor. Evil E, Ice-T's DJ. Remember him? Yeah, there you go.
Back then, obviously, DJing wasn't a big thing, Q, as it is now. It definitely isn't on this level. Who were some of the DJs that were around your area that you used to, like, click up with or hook up with and, you know, like, DJ with?
Back then in San Francisco, there was no one was scratching except for one guy who started like a month before me, which was Mixmaster Mike, who lives here now in LA. Right there, hey, spray paint his house. No, but there really was no one at the time. And DJ Disc, of course, who lived like next door to me at the time, and that's pretty much it.
You got started, you know, by seeing these other guys. What kind of equipment did you start with? What were you like doing, you know, way back then?
Back then when we started, there really were no DJ stores like this. At the time, we just knew of one mixer place, and it was Radio Shack to get a mixer, and it was to like mix different lines, like maybe your TV in there and whatever, your stereo or whatever. And it didn't have a fader. We didn't have faders on our mixers. It was just two up and down faders, like line 1 and line 2, and that's it. That was our mixer, and that's why all the DJs from back then scratch reverse style. You guys call it hamster style now, because that's just like going up and down with the faders.
Who were some of the DJ crews? What were these DJ crews like? And what was the scene like back then when you started back in Frisco?
I'm talking about scratch DJs now, which was just few guys. But as far as regular DJs, like mobile DJs and DJs that did parties, it was like everywhere. Everyone was doing that. That was the thing. Like how there are this many scratch DJs, this is how many mobile crews there were back then. You know, they had the speakers and the lights, and you know, they had the jackets with their names on the back. And when one crew would set up their equipment and stuff, there'd be other crews, you know, standing next to them, watching them, checking them out, watching them mix, make sure everything's on beat. So that was the whole scene, man.
How did these DJ crews battle back then?
Back then, like I said, the battles back then were not really judged on scratching. There was no scratching at all. It was mostly clean mixing and who can make everyone dance and stuff, and who had like the nicest setup and make sure that all the wires, you can't see all the wires on the ground, and you know, all this. If you have a booming system, you know, who had the most bass, that would be like the winner. Yeah, and you know, and your intros were really important. All the intros were always, you are about to enter a realm, mix dynasty, DJ, whatever, I don't know.
So Q, were you part of one of these crews? Any one of these crews way back then? Like, and what was their name and stuff?
We were Lifestyle Productions from San Francisco, and we had the same thing. Whatever.
Back when you started, what kind of music were you mixing to? What kind of music were you started with? Like, what were you like into back then as a DJ?
For me, I was into when I hear music, it makes me dance. You know, that kind of
Debbie Deb and all that.
Sure. And then hip hop was just starting to. I mean, hip hop was always in, but no one mixed it because it was so hard to mix that kind of music. You know, it's easy to mix the because everything's pretty much on beat. But with hip hop, you know, the tempos were like slower, and it'd be kind of like maybe a more of a weird drum machine timing, and it would be hard to mix that kind of stuff back then. So DJs were afraid to mix that, but we started mixing all that. I guess we would call it like high energy music, the kind of like electro dance type stuff, and hip hop was just coming in at around that time, and it was like Peter Piper and Run DMC, all that kind of music, original concept, pump that bass, you know, all that kind of stuff was just coming in.
Especially in Frisco, they were very well known for the high energy. Especially like, you know, like the Stevie B type stuff and all that stuff. Q was rocking all that, right?
Yeah, that was very underground type of a scene, and I have to confess, I used to wear like a Michael Jackson kind of like fake outfits. Had a one glove at the show, just cut off. I had like white gloves and I cut off the fingers and scratch kind of.
So Q, way back then, what were like your favorite records to cut to? What were like the records? Like, you know, nowadays it's very common for a lot of these DJs to pull out your scratch records. But what were the records that you were using a lot back then?
Yeah, back then there were no scratch records or break records that you could just pick up easily. Now it was we would look for like instrumentals, or the breaks of the records would be kind of like where you would scratch. Like mostly like a lot of Egyptian lover type stuff. You know, and everyone was strutting was a big thing in San Francisco. I guess you guys call it popping here in LA. That was a really big thing in San Francisco, as opposed to breaking.
Every DJ looks to stand out from the rest. What were some of the things that you did to make yourself stand out from everybody else?
I mean, at the time, you know, when you first start, you kind of don't really know your own personality yet. You're kind of just doing what everyone else does, and of course, as time goes on, you develop your own personality. Just like a baby, you know, kind of copies its parents as it's growing up, and as it gets older, it develops its own personality. So at the time, I guess Mixmaster Mike was a big influence to me, and he was always like, you know, you need to have your own style and be original, and you know, make up your own rules. So I was always trying to do different things. I think at the time, what was I doing? I think before I broke my leg, I was kind of like, you know, jumping on top of the turntables and scratching with my feet and all that stuff, and scratching with whatever, you know, body parts. But you know, of course, yeah, I had to develop my own sound. I was more of a visual DJ in the mid '80s.
Okay, that's cool.